You can see the milky oil. That means that the water is mixed with the oil. So yeah, let's see what it looks like. Okay, so here's a top tip for you. What I've done is I've loosened all the caps on the cams. So you can see the valves, the cams are not pushing any of the valves down. Same on the exhaust side. That's so that if you take it off and put it down, the valves again aren't sticking out and you don't have risk of bending it. So let's see if we can get this head off. Hopefully I've got all of them. The exhaust is still attached, so, and we've got to figure this chain story out, so let's just see. Oh, all the water. There we go. Stop recording. Alright, so we found the culprit. We managed to get the head off, and I'll show you there. Hold here, please. So everywhere else it looks okay. In fact, you could see it was running quite well. But this cylinder is quite clean in comparison. And here, right at the back, you can see it blew in between the it looks like the combustion chamber and the water port. So there must be an oil port here, but essentially it blew there. You can see how it's pushed out the gasket over here as well. The gasket's deformed here, so nowhere else. Everywhere else it looks okay except for here. So could have also mixed here. So what we got to do, let's just check. So here you can see as well, it was mixing there. It was blowing through there, blowing into the cooling system. So somewhere we have to just see where it has mixed with the oil. Alright guys, so we are back busy with the M44. We're going to put the head back on today. I've just got it back from machining. We've got oil, we've got the gasket, we've got new bolts. We've emptied out the oil cooler. That's busy draining, so whatever milky goo is in there, we're trying to just get rid of the most of that. When we start it up, we're just going to use a basic oil and just try and flush it a bit. So for the most part, what we're doing, just cleaning the surface, because we used this copper compound just to help the head gasket seal. So we're cleaning that surface. Then we're going to kind of just prep it, put the head on, bolt it down, and then go through the motions of doing the cam timing, which is going to be quite a story. In the meantime, we're going to catch up on another couple of tasks on the car. So we've got a couple of other things we're going to do. So I've got all hands on deck. We've got Jan over here, who works for Craig, Yaku helping us over here, and then Johannes. Johannes is busy cleaning the valve cover. So it's a busy one tonight. We are racing this weekend. So when this video comes out, we'll be racing. We're also going to change the seat in this car. I'm going to put my old seat back in. My old seat is much lighter. So we've already done a bunch of weight reduction, but either way, we're just going to try and get some more. And yeah, touch wood, we make it. That's it. From there, I just started the process of lubing the head bolts. This is quite a process, but just take your time. I used ARP assembly lube, and the rule of thumb is basically under the head of the bolt, that is in between the washer and the head of the bolt, and then on the thread. I then opened up the new Erling head gasket. These Erling head gaskets are really high quality, and even though it is still a fiber gasket, it is a very high quality gasket. I still used copper gasket compound on the base of the gasket just because the block didn't get skimmed. However, it was gonna be good enough. I then opened up the cylinder head. Now the cylinder head, I sent it off for checking. We did a pressure test on it. There was no problems with that. And then we also resealed that water jacket that was a potential issue causing it to overheat. So everything was good on the cylinder head. We lapped the valves, and then it was just a matter of installing it again. This is quite tricky because the cylinder head itself is actually quite heavy on this engine, so juggling between getting it onto the dowels and then lining up the timing chain so that it doesn't snag on the water housing is quite an issue. And it's a juggling act. You just have to take your time, feel it around, and try and get it done. And also make sure you don't catch anything under the cylinder head, like wires, or in this case it was the exhaust headers that were fouling the head. Then it's a matter of just getting the head bolts into the head without taking the cams out, and the slow process of getting them all in there is quite tricky as well. So I use this magnet and just kind of put the washer in first, and then slowly guide the head bolt in, and then just send it in with the impact. Now I don't actually torque them down with the impact. I follow the instructions and then use a torque wrench, 30 Newton meters, and then 90 degrees, 90 degrees. If you want to see some more of this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Just click on the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you're good to go. From there, I just started with the cam timing. It was a slow and tedious process to get it right. I went for the same cam timing specs as before, and then afterwards just double check that it is all correct as per the manufacturer's specifications, and then torque it up, double check the intake again, and then rotate the engine to make sure that there is no contact. Alright, so cam timing is done. What I have to do now is put this front cover on. It's quite a process to putting this front cover on to make sure that the bottom gasket seals, especially in the corners. Johannes is busy with the exhaust. That is also quite a process, so it's taken a bit of time to get the exhaust back on. That's the headers and then the rest of the exhaust. And so from here, it is obviously torqued. I've done the cam timing. Got to put that front cover on, put the ITBs on. We've cranked it for oil pressure, so we're good on the oil pressure. And then cooling system on, get it started, get it up to temperature, and then drain the oil, put the good oil in. Let's go. One of the things is you need to make sure that the corners where you're going to apply the silicone, these corners are free of oil, so that the silicone Rinzo seal, whatever you want to call it, can bond. That is important. So we're just cleaning these out, and then obviously get rid of all the old silicone. Just take a little bit of this stuff, put it in the corner, and in the corner again, because this is where the edges of the gasket go. And I'll explain that to you right now. I find this works well. Now you see the gasket that goes onto this face here has these little stoppers on the end. Now those are supposed to slot in a little gap there, but it's really tricky to get them in. That's why I put sealer over there, because the chances of it not sealing is quite good. The trick here is you've got to obviously keep pressure on the gasket, make sure the gasket doesn't pop out of its location, and this steel gasket needs to seal as well, and get all the holes lined up, and then apply downward pressure. Also, the trick is don't tighten any of the bolts just yet. You tighten the bolts right at the end, one by one. So you first get all the bolts in, then you get someone to press down on this face. Alright, so just gonna snug them up. That's done. From here we'll do the water, the valve cover, button up the intake. We'll get you when we're ready to start. Alright, like I just said, we are pretty much ready to go. We've got the cooling system set up, the new bottle is in place, ITBs are on, throttle cable's not on, so we've got to do that. Alright, so it is about 10 o'clock Wednesday evening. I've just uploaded the Gauteng map. We are about to start the car to see if it runs for the first time. So let's see. My man Johannes is busy topping up with water. He's going to be ready with the water, and let me just do this throttle cable. We'll be ready to go. Alright guys, it's the moment of truth. Let's see, let's just check underneath. So it has oil, it has water. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. So we need some jumpers. What's going on? Let's try again. Yeah, it's on the exhaust. Yay! Alright, so the one thing we need to do now is obviously just make sure it bleeds properly. So we're going to start it up, run it all the way up to temp, get it through the heat cycles, try and bleed it properly, because apparently that's quite a thing on these engines and the 6 cylinders. So we'll just go through those motions, but all in all it's successful so far. No leaks down under. So yeah, looking good. Alright, so we've just put the Ravenol in, drained the startup oil, everything was fine there. So let's give it a go, see what our oil pressures are like. Oil pressure good, oil pressure at 5 bar. But that's going to be a wrap for today's episode. From here we just have to get it on the track, do a couple of laps and make sure that the thing is, the cooling is good. So it is Wednesday today, Friday is the practice. That's going to be in a different episode with the race, the next race in this car. So once again, thank you for watching. It was successful, and we'll cover the race next episode. And once again, thank you for all your support. We'll catch you next time. Ciao, bye.